It's time for Pod of the Dead.
Origin story of the three. No, it's fucking the same movie.
I was gonna say directed by the same guy. Like I've seen.
That's lazy.
We'll talk about it. We can talk about it like in the podcast. So, hello and welcome to Pod of the Dead. I am your host Nicholas, and with me, as always, are the two final girls, Stephanie and Natasha.
Hello.
On today's episode, we are going to answer the question: would you rather be stuck in the woods with a man, a bear, or a man stuck in a bear? Because today we are covering Midsommar.
That's good.
That was great.
That's real good.
Yeah, especially with what's going on the internet right now. That was great. Okay, keep going.
So, I'll go where I want to. So prior to this week's homework, what do you girls? What's your history with this film?
I've wanted to cover this movie since we started the podcast. I watched it maybe 2 years ago and absolutely loved it. And it was where I fell in love with Florence Pugh.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know jack from shit from this movie, other than what I'd seen, like in terms of like the cover and then Tasha talking about it. But I didn't know anything besides what she had shared with me. So I was going into this blind. I didn't even know who was acting in this. Like I knew the premise ish, but yeah, and it was A24. That's the only thing I really knew. So
yeah, I think I'm 99% sure I saw this in theaters opening weekend, because I had already seen Ari Aster's previous film, Hereditary, in theaters. So I was already kind of on the train, as it were. So went and saw this. This, I think, is, I'm going to say, third time I've seen it. I believe I watched it one other time outside of the theater. Okay. So I was able to go into this a little differently in the sense of... it wasn't a first time watch, and it wasn't a second. Like, I was able to literally just kind of go, yes, this, that, and the other, and like pick this apart while I'm watching it, because I already knew all the beats going through it, which didn't help or hinder my viewing of it. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, I see this and I see that, and we'll get into it. I know I'm being extremely vague.
Good story.
I know,
yes,
right? Great
story.
But yeah, I don't want to give anything away in case people are not aware of what this film's about. But Tasha,
yeah, I was detached from it enough that I remembered the feeling it gave me and how much I liked it, but couldn't remember too many of the details, which made it really nice watching it. Again.
That's cool. That's always nice. Yeah. It's like a first viewing.
Yeah.
Right. Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. It was awesome. Do you want to know what it's about?
Yes,
no, I don't. And that's Pod of the Dead. Make sure to check our socials. And
well, let me tell you. Midsommar is a 2019 folk horror film written and directed by Ari Aster. It stars Florence Pugh and Jack Rayner as an American couple who are drawn into a violent cult in rural Sweden.
Yeah. Something kind of interesting about that is like it tells you like that's about all you really need to know going into this film, right? It's kind of like the trailers kind of show you that and everything. But when this film was released in Sweden, rather than eliciting fear in the audience, many people laughed, and many Swedish critics praised the film as an excellent black comedy.
Oh, whoa. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
All right.
I wouldn't call this a comedy in any capacity, dark or otherwise.
I mean, I find myself multiple times in this film like chuckling about stuff in it because of how outlandish some of the things are.
That's true. Like it's very it felt very paint by numbers. So
yeah, like it's
what?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is there's going to be some interesting discussions to be had on today's episode. But something I would like to call out super hard right now, Tasha, is you are an absolute goddamn liar.
She is big fucking liar here.
How so?
And I quote, I don't like gory films. I don't like
shit.
I don't like bloody films. I don't like it when
like
the camera
gratuitous.
lingers on stuff like that.
Yeah, liar fucking
We were
face.
literally
My
like,
God.
all right, check mark 6.
We're
check mark
counting
7.
it. Yeah. And Nick turns
I
to
don't
me.
think it lingers. It
Oh,
doesn't
give me a
linger that
fucking
much.
break.
Yeah, so Nick turns to me and we're watching this movie and he was like, Tasha's a fucking liar. And I was like, she doesn't like gore my ass, basically. And I was like, yeah, no shit. I counted 4 times already. And then I was like, that's count. And so we just kept counting. And we're like, there's another one. And so this is gratuitous. Oh, this is also gratuitous. And so we kept going.
Not in a bad way. It's just one of those things that
like,
you
it
have
doesn't
taken
bother
a
me.
stance. You have taken a stance like, I don't like it when it's gratuitous. I'm like, this is fucking like, this is not.
There's one scene that I can definitively say is gratuitous, but a lot of it isn't. And maybe it's because a lot of it stills, like you're seeing it after the fact. I don't know. I was honestly curious, Steph, if you thought this was gory.
This
watching it, like
the movie.
Considering Green Room was not a
Shut
gory
the hell up.
film.
It's true.
Right.
Okay.
Was this?
Well, there is blood, but
Yeah. Okay.
It's clearly a black comedy.
Yeah, it does. It does have some pretty intense gore in this movie that could shy people away from watching it. I do think it's not a long time in the movie. It's not regularly. It doesn't happen a lot, but there are a few like blips that are very much like that. Yeah, I could see where it's. I wouldn't say the movie itself is gory, but I would say there are pieces of it that are exceptionally so. But that's not the premise of the story. So like that was where I drew from it, because like when you first get in the movie, it gets gory pretty quickly after you get past like the cold open and everything. And so when we started getting into the main meat of it, I was like, I wonder if it's going to be like this throughout the rest. It really wasn't. There was just bits and pieces, but yeah.
Something I did find, though, that there's director's trademarks. Okay, so like certain directors are known for certain things. So, so the director trademarks for Ari Aster at this time. At this time, he'd only done the 2 films. He'd done Hereditary and this. Both of Ari Aster's feature-length films so far have included gruesome shots of bashed-in faces.
True.
Cults.
Yep.
Old people in the nude.
Yep.
Explorations of grief and relationships.
Yep.
Intense depictions of sorrow and shots where the camera films straight down. So those
that
are like, and I haven't seen Beau is Afraid, so I don't know about that. But those are like, it's instantly first one. It's like gruesome shots of bashed in faces. I was like, nope, this isn't gory.
Yeah, that scene is extremely uncomfortable.
But it's shown multiple times.
Yeah, and that one, I will give it to you. That one is gore. That one is hard to watch.
Again and again and again.
We'll touch back on this not being gory, because I want to name drop like all these different things, and I can't wait to hear Natasha explain to me why that's not gory.
Yeah,
to her.
I'll give you a yes or a no.
Okay. No, it's not about gore. It's gratuitous.
That's
what we're looking at here.
Absolutely.
So, okay. All right. Let's get into this so we can get to spoilers faster.
So, the box office and the budget. What do you think its budget was?
Oh. It all kind of takes place in like 2 different places, kind of.
This was shot completely in Bulgaria.
Okay.
No, I thought it was shot in Hungary.
Hungary, sorry. Well, yeah. Isn't Bulgaria?
Budapest.
Oh, that's right. That's where I'm getting my I live in a cornfield. Next.
Okay. I'm always wrong. Tasha's been really good the last few times, so I'm just gonna be like 6.2 million.
All right.
11 million.
All right. It was for 9 million. So still kind of, you girls are getting really in there.
That's actually a lot more than I expected, actually, because like every time we talk A24 films, they're all like hitting low, like in the lower half of the millions.
Well,
I don't know.
This is also like Hereditary had come out a couple years prior, had made major bucks for them and everything.
That's true.
They were able to, put more money into things.
That's true. Okay, that makes sense.
So on
It's a big cast, a lot of structures. That was X Factor.
That's true.
An insane amount of extras, like a crazy amount of extras. Like
I wonder how much money you have to pay somebody to take their clothes off and do gyrating weird shit on screen.
Me, I'll legitimately, I'll do it for free. Like, just like, hey, you wanna be weird for like a day? I'm like,
here's $200 to shake your titties and grab some booties. I wonder.
Yeah, I'm gonna push some asses.
Yeah, literally.
So, what do you think it brought in at the box office worldwide?
I'd heard of Hereditary. I hadn't heard of this one, so I'm so 57.
All right.
83.
It made 48 million. So, Steph, you were really close.
I got close this time.
Yeah,
wow, that's really sad, though.
Yeah,
I mean, they did make a lot of their money back, though, so that's good.
Yeah, it was a financial success and all that.
Yeah.
It didn't do as well as Hereditary, but Hereditary was like kind of out of nowhere. Like, the director knew all this stuff, and it just kind of took everybody by storm. What is interesting, though, is this was a co-production between the United States and Sweden. Midsommar was initially pitched to Aster as a straightforward slasher film set in a set among Swedish cultists.
Okay.
With elements of the original concept remaining in the final product, the finished film focuses on a deteriorating relationship inspired by a difficult breakup experienced by Aster himself. So basically kind of like got this script and kind of helped, change it and twist it and everything. And he describes this film as a breakup movie dressed in the clothes of a folk horror film. And he said that some of the more the more inspirational things for him was the film Modern Romance by Albert Brooks, and also called it The Wizard of Oz for perverts.
Ooh, Wizard of Oz for I guess.
There's a lot of talk. I didn't really realize.
They literally follow the fucking yellow brick road to go to this little thing in the middle of the nowhere. I picked up on that immediately.
I didn't.
Yeah, they're literally like walking through fucking yellow flowers to go to this place in the middle of fucking nowhere. So I was like, yeah, I see what we're doing here. I called that immediately. So yeah, that was interesting.
But before we get into spoiler territory and everything, we're going to have another segment of our try to figure out the
mashup.
The mashup. There you go. Mashup roulette. So,
oh gosh, we're just starting this, and I'm not. Okay, let's do it.
All right, here we go.
Here we are.
Dani unites with Christian while on a warpath of revenge against the conspirators who destroyed her family, facing a choice.
Black Widow.
No, it is not. Facing a choice between the love of her life and the fate of the known universe, she endeavors to prevent a terrible future only she can foresee.
Only she can foresee.
Is she a Jedi?
You're really close, Tasha.
It has to be like Rogue One or something like that. Or I don't know. I don't know. What is it, Tasha? Come on.
I don't know.
I don't either.
Florence Pugh, also known as Princess Irulan from Dune 2.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Okay.
Nuts.
Oh, yeah. I forgot she was even in those movies. Oh, my God.
Just in the second one.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Still reeling from the loss of her family, Dani rallies her team to defend the universe and one of their own, a mission that could mean the end of Midsommar if not successful.
What?
Black Widow.
You're in the right ballpark there, Tasha.
Oh, say it again. Read it again. Is it Oppenheimer?
No.
Also, she's not really saving
Well,
the
it's
world.
not all just her. It's not all just her. It's people in the movie.
Okay. I have no idea. I'm losing this today. Okay.
I'm straight on Florence Pugh.
You are.
No one else matters.
So Will Poulter, who played Mark in this film, was Adam Warlock in Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Oh, yeah.
The gold guy.
Oh, yeah, that's right. See, I don't remember any of this shit. Yeah, he is.
I know him from Dope Sick,
Okay.
the TV series.
I was watching that movie the whole time, and I was like, I know I've seen this guy in something. I have no idea what, and I never went and Googled it. And sure, yeah, he's in fucking Guardians. My God. Okay.
All right.
When,
terrible.
when Dani allies with a bounty hunter in pursuit of Midsommar, Christian turns to a mechanic and his family for help.
And his family? A mechanic and his family?
A bounty hunter?
Wow, all I was thinking for bounty hunter, it was like the Mandalorian.
This movie does deal with space and an age of sorts. Maybe some extinction.
Extinction, alien, mechanic. What the fuck is extinction?
He was hanging out with a transformer. It was on Transformers. Age
Oh
of
my God,
Extinction.
Mark Wall. Oh yeah, okay.
Jack Rayner, the guy who plays Christian,
Transformers, okay.
played Shane Dyson in Transformers: Age of Extinction. So you girls went 0 and 3.
I am. Well, I didn't even. Age of
was hard.
Extinction. It was. See, I didn't even remember any of these motherfuckers being in anything. I'm with Tasha here. Black Widow. Because that's the only thing I can
Black Widow.
remember.
Don't worry, darling.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Josh is from The Good Place. There are so
I know.
many other.
I know. The Bear. I never saw that though, so I don't know. Yeah.
I had to figure out how to write these mashups. Okay, so
No,
The Good
you
Place.
did good.
The Good Place didn't work.
No, your Mark Wahlberg accent was actually pretty good though.
Mark Wahlberg.
I know. Say hello to your mother for me.
Hey.
Yeah, that was
my
actually
God.
pretty good. I caught it the first time without you saying anything, so that was good.
So,
Okay.
a little tidbit though for you girls. Now that we've seen 2 Ari Aster films, there is obviously a third one that's out, starring Joaquin Phoenix, but he does have another one on the horizon. It's called Eddington. It doesn't have any information out there yet except for the cast.
Okay.
So this movie is supposed, like, by IMDb, saying that Austin Butler is going to be in it. I don't know who that is. He's from Dune 2. He is the bald one that he fights.
Oh, he's the one that plays Elvis.
Yes, there you go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like him. He's awesome. Okay.
Emma Stone is supposed to be in it.
Okay, I like her.
Pedro Pascal.
I will watch anything with him in it. So okay.
And again, Joaquin Phoenix. So
okay, cool.
This is, and there's
That's
some
a
other actors
star-studded
and
cast.
stuff, but everything's being held under wraps very much so. So that's going to be coming. It's supposed to be a dark comedy horror kind of thing, and
okay,
we'll see what happens with that.
That'll be interesting.
But you girls ready to get in spoiler territory?
Yes,
please.
Alrighty. So this is Pod of the Dead. We are a horror film club. If this is your first time listening to us, welcome. If you have seen Midsommar, stick around. We're going to openly discuss our thoughts and feelings on this film. If you haven't seen it, it is currently streaming on Max. And check it out if you haven't. It's a little on the longer side. It's about 2.5 hours. But if you don't care about spoilers, stick around. By the end of the episode, usually the last 15 minutes or so, we give out homework for next week so you can watch the movie and catch up with us on the next episode. And without any further ado, let's frolic through the grass, the weeds, and hopefully mind the ticks and talk about Midsommar.
If you'd like to be part of our horror film club, make sure to follow us at Instagram, Threads, and Facebook at Pod of the Dead. All of our episodes can be found at podofthedeadorelse.com or wherever you stream music and podcasts. If you have movie recommendations or questions for us, email us at podofthedead666@gmail.com. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. Or else.
Yes, let's do that.
With that being said, I would like to hear that 10 out of 10 review.
Okay. I'll start this off with a warning. If you're a mainstream horror fan, you will not like this. It's not The Conjuring. It does not have any jump scares, and it's a slow movie. It's not scary in the way that most horror films are scary. It doesn't frighten you. It felt traumatic. This is an artsy movie for sure. If you don't like that, don't see it. Florence Pugh is absolutely phenomenal. She provides the heart for the film and is what keeps the audience emotionally invested in such a disturbing film. But it's one of the greatest horror performances that I've ever seen. The cinematography is stunningly gorgeous. I've never seen a film look so gory and grotesque and yet absolutely beautiful at the same time.
Yeah,
I
Tasha.
100% agree. I would write that. That is a huge reason why I like this movie, is that like duality happening the whole time. Ugh, where was I? The art direction is also phenomenal in providing us with a floral, candy-colored nightmare world. And Ari Aster's screenplay and direction is what makes so special and separates it from other horror pieces. It's slow, methodical. I got there. It's slow, methodical, and eerie. But the characters are psychological and deep. The dialogue is real and colorful. The plot is surreal and disturbing. He lets the scares crawl at you opposed to jump at you. He allows you to see what will happen, process it, feel the shock of what's about to happen, and then still shock you even more when it does happen. This film will be divisive. I have no doubt that many people here will hate this. However, while this is a challenging film, it's a great film. Halfway through, the characters say something along the lines of, "This is so messed up, but I'm trying to keep an open mind." I suggest that audiences take this advice. PSA, this movie is extremely violent, bloody, and gory.
Yeah, Tasha.
It's pretty horrifying, and it could have some stuff that triggers.
Yeah, it could.
Absolutely.
And I could see where people would hate this movie, especially if you are going into it thinking I think we just need a disclaimer that says if you watch any A24 film and you expect it to be a standard horror movie, you're not going to get that, because I have yet to see one that's an A24 film that just follows your standard shit for horror movies. So they're just different.
I think the closest one that is like your standard horror film would be X.
Probably, yeah, because it's a slasher.
It is a straight up slasher. I mean, it's definitely set in like the 80s. It's got like all that time capsule-y stuff and everything, and not to spoil it in case people haven't. But if you want to listen, we got an episode back in the catalog. But yeah, like that's probably the closest one, and it's probably why it's one of the most popular of their films, considering there's a sequel and now a third one coming out in a couple months.
Yeah,
Granted,
it's also because who's in it too. So
the idea of it being a trilogy from the get-go, like that.
Yeah, I knew that, but I mean, I'm talking about like the original, like an X. There's like pretty star-studded cast. Like you're getting a lot more in that than you would in a lot of other A24 films.
Yeah.
So
not so much anymore. Like I said earlier,
that's true. That's true. They're definitely getting some notoriety.
They're getting Nick Cage in films now and all that stuff.
They kind of remind me, and this is crazy, but they kind of remind me like a indie author that's like starting out, or a band, and then they just are slowly picking up pace. And they're, getting more and more. And then people are really starting to take notice, which I'm really excited about because I really like the quality of films that they put out. So that's good. So
yeah, they definitely do put out distribute films that are make or break. You're either going to be about it or not. And I'm not saying that I'm not saying that you can't have a middle of the road thing, but it's like if you're either into their style of films that they put out, or you're not, and that all that means is you'll give it a shot. Some people will watch two of their films, just be like, if it says A24, I want nothing to do with it. Where others will be like, well, because the movie doesn't sound necessarily interesting, but A24 put it out, so it does definitely have a certain quality attached to it that I might already be about.
Yeah, I think it's the difference between a popcorn horror movie and more of an artistic feel. You're not getting your standard jump scares. You're not getting your standard tropes. for the most part. I'm not saying you're not. Like you said, X is a slasher film, so that plays a little bit into that. But there is a lot, like a larger underlying narrative in that storyline than you would normally get in just your standard fucking Halloween movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think, especially with Ari Aster's films, I feel that like they are horror, like without a doubt, but they are so much built around being a drama. Like this one being,
they're emotionally immersive movies. I would say
movie,
that definitely.
This movie being about the death of a family, that grief, and then also the dissolution or the dissolving of a relationship, and all of that stuff is, without that, this movie is nothing realistically.
Right.
Like that is the driving force of the film. It's what makes sense of everything. And the same with like Hereditary or even The Witch, you know, by Eggers and stuff. Like it's very much in this drama aspect. And if you are in it just for blood and guts, it's not going to necessarily be for you. So when she's talking about like some people are going to hate this film, I 100% like 9 times out of 10, if I see that runtime on a film, especially when it's a horror film, I'm like, no, that's way too fucking long. Cut the shit down. And I still do believe that you could probably cut a half hour out of this film.
You definitely could have.
And get the same point, if not better. Because for
I didn't realize it was 2.5 hours long the second time watching it, because the first time I get so sucked into it that it just flies by.
Correct. And like that's the thing. It's like it doesn't necessarily feel, at least to me, it doesn't exactly feel like 2.5 hours. But it also, there are a lot of shots and scenes in this that almost come off as masturbatory, like that he's like, oh, I'm going to hang on this shot for a long time, and I'm going to just, a lot of this just like still kind of stuff. And it's like, it's effective when done once or twice, but it's a motif that is played out through the entire film, and it drags the film. And that's a huge no-no.
I think it would have been, I think it would be more enjoyable if it was tightened up just a little bit. Yeah. And I didn't feel like it was 2.5 hours either. It wasn't slogging along. It's not The Exorcist, but like it definitely, it definitely felt like it does. Like even when we've watched, well, these are greatly different time frames, but like even with like the Alien movie we watched, there's just scenes, or even The Thing, which again is old movies, where it lingers and it has that feel of like what you would expect in a movie that's probably from the 70s, in the sense of like it's long and drawn out a little bit more than it's necessary. So
well, I mean, that's definitely, like, he wears it on his sleeve that this film is definitely influenced by The Wicker Man, which originates back in the 70s and deals with kind of the same thing of like this cult, like, and like the harvest and all this stuff. And so it definitely is inspired by it, but like it's one of those things, like just because it's inspired by it doesn't mean you have to drag on kind of thing.
Okay, 1 out of 10
for me.
Okay, go ahead, Tasha.
Oh, just go. You're good.
No, go ahead, Tasha.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, for me, the pauses are effective because it's so drawn out. You start to feel uncomfortable, just like the way the movie starts, with everything being inverted before you're going into the little community. Yeah. It goes past that point of being boring into like waiting, and then you get bored, and then you get uncomfortable.
Well, mine's not. It's not the fact that it's boring. Like that's not what I'm trying to say. Is it breaks the tension for me? Like if it keeps just slowing down and stuff, it's like I understand that the stuff's going on, but it's like things are drawing out so much. Now, granted, the last half hour of the film is like foot on the accelerator the whole fucking time, but the 2 hours prior to that, it's like little bloop, little bloop, little bloop. And when you're talking about a 2.5 hour film, if you are not like in for the ride, like, you know, like if you don't know what A24 films are kind of like, you don't know what Ari Aster is kind of like, if you don't know what art house films are like, if all that kind of stuff,
that makes sense.
If you go into it and like you see the cold open, like the first 15 minutes or so, and you're like,
that takes forever too, though. Yeah,
but it's just like, oh shit, okay. And then from then on, it's just uncomfortability about her and the relationship and all this stuff, and it takes a long time to get going. But go ahead. Let's get that 1 out of 10, and then we can actually really talk.
That sounds good. Okay, 1 out of 10. Artistic horror needs to stop.
I do not agree. But go on.
2.5 hours. It's at least an hour too long. At least an hour.
I couldn't imagine getting. I couldn't imagine getting this story out in an hour and a half.
An hour and a half. I can't either.
Yeah, I could see this being a 2-hour film.
I agree. Yeah. The cinematography was nice. You might like the movie if you're the sort of person who watches 3-hour YouTube videos of oddly satisfying patterns, because nearly every shot done with some sort of symmetry or weird effects. It kind of is, yeah. I loved that, though. I thought that was really fun. So anyway.
It's very pleasing.
Yeah, I agree. So it takes so long to get to the point. The first time anything mildly interesting happens is a full hour in. Then there's another solid hour of nothing until the 15-minute conclusion.
So hold on. Nothing interesting happens until we're an hour in. So the beginning, the suicide and all that stuff at the very beginning.
Right, does nothing.
That's not interesting. Like, because I thought that like the way that's shot and everything is very
but it is
effective.
Slow. It is,
but it's very
slow.
effective how it's done. So I don't know.
If you're looking for that adrenaline, yeah,
they must be after The Conjuring, like the other person said.
Yeah, I just can't get over how many people have raved about this piece of garbage. The characters are bland, unlikable, and uninteresting. The entire plot is so slow burning that they probably could have filmed grass growing and would have been more thrilling.
They kind of did at times in this film. I'd like to point that out.
Yeah.
Everyone
talks about how it's unsettling or psychologically terrifying. Okay, maybe the last 5 minutes, but the rest is just a bunch of cult people drinking mushrooms and screaming together. It is not unsettling so much as annoying. Constant repetitive music, samey scenes, and all play out the same way. I can't believe I sat through this garbage. I didn't pay anything, and I still want my money back. That was actually really well written, though. I have to give them credit. That was a well written review. They are very passionate, and they're 1 out of 10.
I can. This is one of those first review segments that I can get on board with the 10 and the 1, because I can understand why people would champion this film, but I can also understand why people would hate this film.
Agreed.
It's not very many. There's not very many times where I feel like that with a movie. Because this is probably one of the most polarizing films that I can think of that we've covered, in the sense of like, it's not like I love this movie and I can understand why people don't like it. I'm kind of like floundering in the middle somewhere, but it's like, I can see why people love this movie, but I can also see why people hate this film. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm just kind of there.
Yeah,
I'm one of those people that watches the satisfying videos. So
yeah,
I'm right in his demographic.
Yeah,
so.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, it has a lot of really good shots. It's a beautiful movie in the sense of just like the coloring and the structures and the art. I love the art in this.
Always in daylight. It's always daylight.
Yeah, and I like.
And it's always like the golden hour. So everything's that pretty, almost twilight time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I like the compound that they live on. It's very unique in the sense it's not like cookie cutter what you would expect. So I liked that too. It was just very, I don't know. The movie, when I said earlier that it felt very paint by numbers, I could legitimately not from the very cold open, because I didn't know what was going to happen to get us to the cult aspect, because I knew it was a cult movie. But after we got to that, I could tell literally from when we arrived then on that this is what was happening next. This is what was happening next. Like I could pinpoint it immediately, one after the other. So it was very paint by numbers in the sense as there was no like surprise or shocking or shock value to me in the sense of like, oh, wow, I can't believe that just happened. It was like, maybe it happened in a little bit different than I expected, but it was all very similar into what my anticipation was. So that's where it was for me.
Like the thing that it's not shocking in the fact that people are dying or anything. I think the shock of anything in this film is the and I'm just kind of going with what I've seen online and what people refer to it as, but the rape scene in the chamber, because he's drugged and all this stuff to fucking impregnate this girl and stuff, and a lot of people that's what they kind of refer to it as, because it's not straight, like he is given so much stuff in like the magic potion-y kind of stuff and the inhalant drug and all this stuff. So that's what they refer to it as. Whether you think it is or isn't, that's not what we're.
I guess, yeah. I guess watching it doesn't come across to me as a rape scene.
Well, because the things that were like that people were talking about and stuff was like, it doesn't seem like a rape scene because it's inversed. And so many people are so used to it being the woman. And it's like, this is kind of how it is for a guy in a sense. And I was like, oh, okay, right on. Like, to me, like, I didn't. And I'm not trying to be insensitive or anything like that. I didn't see it as a rape scene or anything like that. But when you put 2 and 2 together and you're like, well, yeah, he wasn't doing, like, if the magical pie and stuff and the menstrual blood and the drink and all that stuff, then yeah, it's not consensual. Therefore, it is rape.
Right.
So.
But then you also have to believe those things actually work, or instead of him just being like, well, because the other part of that doesn't feed for me necessarily. I'm not saying it is or it isn't, or anything like that. I'm not debating whether, everybody's interpretation is going to be different in this scene. Because I do believe, obviously, men do have instances in life where this happens, but you can see the deterioration of the relationship while they're there. And I don't think it's necessarily some kind of because they put a charm under the bed. I do believe fully that there's a constant problem and pull from the relationship from the very get-go. So it's slowly deteriorating. So I don't know. I
get that, but at the same time, like, no one else is reacting the way that he is at certain points when it comes to stuff. Like, nobody else is eating those pies at that time when he does, and he finds the pube. His drink is tampered with. No one else's is.
True.
And then when he gets to that final table, you can see he's fucking, like, really fucked up, and he ends up following her to the place that they lead him to with flower petals. So it's a lot of that kind of stuff.
I guess that's true, because it's not like in the open sense of what people consider rape, like forcing. It's definitely more of the coercion thing, and they're using it by drugs and like and by like literally a woman is they're literally telling him to climax. They're literally shoving his ass into this woman's vagina. So obviously,
shoving his ass into the vagina. The whole new sexual position that I was not aware of.
That's not what I meant. There's a lady behind him forcing him to thrust into this young woman who happens to have the same name as my daughter, which is really fucking weird when you're watching.
It's spelled different. It's Maja, Maya, and in their language, it means to decorate with leaves.
Okay, that's nice. So like that was an interesting thing. The whole movie has different pieces of this. It's very like. It's a lot of it is like drug related, like their own like herbal drugs.
It's the cult thing. It's from the earth, you know.
Yeah, that in itself was cool because it was like you got to see different levels of what was affecting them in different ways. So
yeah, Ari Aster said that the visual effects for the psychedelic scenes were involved in a trial and error kind of way. He said, I'm sure for some of those shots we got to the point where we had like 60 versions. In one iteration, the tripping was too distracting that you weren't paying attention to the characters. Mm-hmm. And then if you brought it down to a point, you were paying attention to you were only paying attention to the characters and you never noticed the tripping effects. Mm-hmm. So the more minimal visual effects were settled on a week before the first screening. So they were just like trying, and I get it because there is times where it's like kind of chaotic and stuff. And then there's times where like she's just sitting there and there's a flower like breathing with her. Mm-hmm. And that is too much for me. That's like the one thing in this movie that I'm like, I'm taking a point off. She
has like grass growing through her feet, or she thinks she does, like through like she's like attached to earth in a sense, like with that. Yeah,
exactly. And that's what I envision like having a mushroom trip would be like things would be growing off of you or whatever. Yeah. If you're one with nature, and she was drinking that like dandelion wine or whatever it was.
Oh, there was psilocybin everywhere in this movie.
Exactly.
Yeah. It was a lot. It was interesting. And then like at the beginning, going back to the cold open, like you go in and this is very akin like to the Ari Aster thing. It's like starting you off on a pattern of like grief. And I was like, please tell me we're not doing this the whole fucking movie again. And Nick's like, I promise it's not like this the whole time. Because Hereditary, if you guys have not watched our episode on this, fucking wrecked the shit out of me. And I was like, I can't do this. I'm getting like teary-eyed watching this girl. I'm like, I am not crying in this fucking movie. I had to stop Hereditary so I could actually collect myself myself. I was like, I don't want to do this movie. So as you know, her mom, and which was really fucked up. The whole movie starts was like, I'm going and taking mom and dad with me, or something like that. And I was like, uh-oh. And then she's calling her parents, and then I thought this was creative in itself. Like, they die from exhaust fumes from the car, but they literally tube it all the way through the house. I have never heard of that before. I've only ever heard of like people sitting in their cars in their garages.
The one to the sister, she has it like attached
in
to
her mouth.
face. I didn't remember that. Like seeing that again, I was just
and like her eyes,
vomit down
her shirt,
eyes are bloodshot and exploded.
Yeah,
and that's extremely gory.
Oh wow. Okay, so we're 15 minutes of the film. It's gory. All right, cool.
But no, I will acknowledge the fact that it's very disturbing.
It is.
It's not gratuitous. I would imagine
that's not
real.
You're right. Yeah, I agree.
I never have to see it. But
gratuitous, not real. So, all right, let's kind of go down the ladder here and like pick out a couple things, and we'll talk about them. So when the older people of said encampment,
the 73-year-olds.
Was it 73?
70. I think they're 72 or 71. Okay. Whatever. They're in their 70s.
Yep.
Yes.
When they jump off and the lady's face explodes.
Like legitimately.
And we see that multiple times.
Yes.
Is that gratuitous or anything, Tasha?
Yes, that's too much.
Okay, next.
Okay. The worst one is the next one.
The man jumps. Yes. His leg shatters. They smash his face in with a hammer. Is this
not
gratuitous?
Once, but twice. And his whole head caves in on the second blow.
Yeah.
And then we get to see the head after it's been caved in, not once, not twice, probably like 4 times, I would say, because every time they just keep flashing back to these motherfuckers that are dead.
And I would like to say, I'm here for this. It
doesn't bother me either.
This is specifically Tasha saying that she doesn't like gory stuff. Is this gory, Tasha?
Yes, that's the scene that I'm referring to. That was too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as I was watching it the first time and the second time I knew it was going to happen, so it was a little bit better. But the first time, it was just a matter of me being so confused. What the fuck is happening? This is disgusting. So yeah, that one is too much.
So third one. This is the last one that I'm going to mention, like in this direct line. The man in the chicken coop, blood-eagled with his lungs pulled out the back of him.
Yeah, with the flowers on his eyes.
His legit lungs are pulled through the back of his rib cage. Not gory.
That's like a Vikings thing. So
100%.
Can I tell you why?
Oh, I would love to hear it. Please, yes, the floor is all yours.
Just like
fucking lies.
It's not, because it's not an action. The gratuity for me a lot of the times comes with the repetition of the blood splatter and the repetition of the action that's happening.
Yours is the action of, not the reaction. Or not the...
Right, so...
Not the aftermath.
But not the presentation. The presentation is extremely unsettling.
Okay.
But I don't consider that gratuitous gore.
Okay.
But I will remember that. But the aftermath is still a face being smashed in, and we see it 4 times.
Had it just been the worst part of that for me is the sound of the mallet and the sound of him falling.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
More so than seeing it.
You're more grossed out by the squishy and the crunchy.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, I get
it. I'm more kind of along the lines of like, why are you showing us this 4 fucking times when we've already seen his head explode? We saw his legs get shattered. We saw all these things. And then now you're showing us everything else again. Like certain things like the blood eagle thing, that didn't bother me. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I like that they put the flowers on his eyes. I thought that was really creative. And where they put him, I thought was kind of cool. Like I liked all of that. And the other thing I thought was interesting about him and the dynamic and the like with everybody falling is that you have these people who are like they're in anthropology or something. What was it? Yeah. So they're looking, a lot of those characters are like watching all of this stuff happen. These people jump into their death willingly. Like this is that to me, it's like, and they are looking at this from like a perspective of like, this is culture. This is what they're doing. So like, they're not freaking out as much about this. They're just trying to learn and not to say that it's not disturbing, but they're looking at this from a different perspective versus the other 2 people who are visiting from another that we don't really know much about. They're screaming and begging people not to jump off. And they're obviously the first two to go bye-bye. So for the most part, right? I think they're the first two for them to off.
Correct. Yeah. So the man is gone first. He's the one that is blood eagled.
Yeah.
The girl is off second, and you hear her scream off in the distance. And I guess in the director's cut of this film, you kind of see, or it implies more of what happened, because you do see her body getting wheeled to the yellow triangle building, whatever you want to call that, at the end of the film. And she looks waterlogged, like she's all bloated with water and droopy.
Okay, so whose foot is in the garden? Is it his foot or her foot?
I think that's Josh's foot.
That's Josh.
Oh, it's Josh's foot.
Oh,
the other guy. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Reading the book and taking pictures.
Oh, the one that got bludgeoned by like the incest child, right?
That wasn't the incest child. I was reading in the script. It's the guy that's losing his mind about the kid pissing on the tree.
Oh,
that he even says that guy's going to kill me, isn't he? He ends up killing somebody else, but he is wearing his face while doing it.
Oh, okay. I guess I didn't pick up on that. I mean,
no, and it's not something that's given to you in the film or anything, but in the script, it does say that is who it supposedly is.
Okay. Yeah, because I honestly
that was the only time that Steph went, oh my God, was when it's revealed and he's wearing
his fucking face.
Wearing his face. Very
I loved that. I loved that. It was very creepy, and I liked it. And I liked they like smashed him over the head. But that wasn't gratuitous at all. It was like a little bit, and then they moved on to the next scene.
That scene in itself is very, very like, I didn't see anything talking about it, but that scene feels like an homage to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, specifically, obviously, the wearing the face. But then also in that film, Leatherface bangs a man over the head with a mallet, and he's like laying there seizing, and Josh, when he's laying there, is like twitching and stuff. Yeah. And that scene is very reminiscent to me, anyhow, of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Okay. Yeah.
Something that I did notice in this film that like it's neat when it happened like the first time and maybe the second time, but it felt like it kept doing it, is Aster had like this thing with like, I'm going to do as many shots through reflections as I can in this film, through a mirror with people talking. So like when they're talking in the bedroom early on, it's like, oh, that's cool. And then like when she shows up at the friend's house at the beginning of the film and everything, you're like seeing it through the reflection off of the television or something like that. But they keep doing it through the film, and it like the novelty of it wears off.
I never noticed.
I start to forget about it. Yeah, I really like the scene. I really like the scene where they're in the living room after Christian comes back and says, "Hey, I invited Dani to go." There's something so voyeuristic about that. Only seeing, almost like from Dani's view, a lot of the time, just how it switches. There's something more like intimate than your typical just like big cast shot that I really, really appreciated.
And it works when done periodically, but I kept noticing it, and I was like, we're doing that same kind of shot again. Like, and if it had some sort of payoff, like we were another person through those scenes and stuff, it would make more sense to me. But it was a weird stylistic choice for me. Literally, I'd like catch myself going like, oh, here's it, like literally like third time and stuff like that. It was weird. But talking about that scene where he's like, you know, like, guys, if she asks, blah, blah, blah. For the AV Club, A. Downs described this film as a sharp portrayal of gaslighting.
Yeah.
I noticed that.
Gaslighting the fucking film. Yeah. And I believe
Christian does it to so many different characters.
I think Christian's the villain in this film, right? He is the villain. It's not the cult. Yeah. It's not. He's the villain of the movie, I feel.
Is he the boyfriend?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I'm terrible with names, so okay. Christian's the boyfriend. Okay. Yes, he is. He's kind of a douchebag, like legitimately.
He's straight up
he
as a douchebag.
Is to multiple people.
Everyone, his friends, his girlfriend, everything.
He forgets her birthday. He seems like her parents dying and all of that's like a bother. And then my scene, we were actually talking about this when we were watching it, was like when he's like, I'm going to Sweden. She's like, you didn't even tell me. Well, I told you I wanted to go, but yeah, you didn't fucking tell me you were actually going. And then randomly she's now going. I thought all of that. I was like, dude, this guy is just a douchebag. And then I know it sounds so fucked up, but like, what's the guy that actually is part of the cult that brought them there? What's his name?
Yuri, is that his name? I believe.
Okay.
Pele.
All right. Yuri
Okay.
must be
Whatever.
someone else.
Whatever this cult dude is. Okay. Can we talk about his like intentions here? He had to have known that he was literally like bringing lambs to slaughter, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what him and his brother's job was.
So like he goes rums
because he's commended. He's commended for it at the end of the film. Like they give him like the special grass headdress and everything.
Well, partially that was because she became the May Queen too.
Correct.
But like it was so like just the whole like diabolical mindset of like basically he's doing his own version of Rumspringa, but in order to bring back like fucking people to literally slaughter them. And like he has built these relationships with these people and like all of this, and to detach yourself to the extent, and I understand that this is because they believe in their religion and all of this stuff, that this is what's supposed to happen, whatever, but like crazy town, like to do that. And then the whole time he's like kind of simping, if that's the word to use in the modern day the modern day language, for our main leading lady the whole time, and like drawing her pictures. And like I know that and this is just the fucked up thing about me reading the books that I read, and like the morally gray characters or the whatever or villains. Well, me and Nick argue what Loki is all the time. So anyway,
Loki's the one. Go on.
He's not. So I was kind of like hoping they were gonna get together. That was my only letdown in this whole movie. I was like, I know, I was hoping for. I was like, can we get like, other than him kissing her, but that was like, she was drugged out and all that stuff. I was like, maybe that like she's found her new family. This is her new man. Like and I know I'm like, this is cult movie. This is fucked up, but I'm like cheering for them in the background. I'm like, what does that say about me? So
I don't think he brought his friends and Dani over necessarily to be lambs for slaughter. They just didn't follow the rules.
No.
So they got killed.
No,
because they mentioned bringing new blood so they don't like have like incest all the time. It sounds like one family's allowed to, which is Pele's family. So they bring in new people because then that's why Christian was used to impregnate somebody.
Yeah, but then once he was used, he was gone.
The women are to be kept.
But that's because she decided to kill him, though.
True.
He could have stayed and just been Maya's like piece. But
not really though.
Mark was an asshole. Josh was an asshole. The other two didn't respect the elders dying.
There is one thing though to be said about the whole like being his piece or them getting together. This commune, they share everything. So there is no like, yes, you have parents because they bred and had you, but they themselves are not betrothed to each other.
Yeah.
You know,
your kids aren't even your kids. Like you have them, but then they belong to everybody.
Well, and that's what did you say his name is? Pele? Mm-hmm. Okay. Pele. Yeah. Something like that. P-Man. He talks about, I don't know if anybody noticed this, that he talks about earlier in the film that he lost his parents in a fire.
Yes.
They went through the exact same thing at the end of the film that we see. Like
I don't think so.
They were the two that went. It 100% had to have been.
I don't think so because this only happens every 90 years.
That's what we're told.
But I think
that was the whole
that was the thing.
Premises.
I agree. I think that this happens.
It's a once in a lifetime thing.
Yep, I agree. And I do think that the people do sacrifice themselves when they're 70 something because then they are no longer, whatever, because they die.
They jump off the thing. Yeah.
Correct. And that's how they end their life, which in a weird way, it keeps you from having to be the person that's a burden to the community and like all of this stuff. And you get to choose your going and you get to do that. And now that's sad and fucked up in its own way, but they make that choice.
I think it makes you more grateful for the 72 years you have and you know that, that there is an end at this point.
Correct.
Right.
So. Yeah. And then the thing I liked about this too, when they were talking about in the review about the moaning and stuff, I think it's them portraying that they're understanding the pain that their person that they're connected to is going through. And so like they are crying out for that person's that person's pain. They're feeling it for them. And I liked that because I was like, at least they're not standing there like as if like, oh, well, I'm just here. Like they are trying to experience whatever pain that other person is going through or sorrow. And I liked that a lot about this.
Yeah, on her breakdown scene with the Hårga, however you pronounce it, Pugh commended the other women involved, saying that they made this scene possible as she typically struggles to cry on camera. And she reflected, I knew I would never be so open and so raw and so exhausted like I was the day after that.
That scene is intense, but I can only imagine how good that would feel to be like, to come out of that with Florence, like to be Florence in that scene. I want to just scream in somebody else's face over and over again. There's something very cathartic about that I want to do.
So something that I know about this film, and it definitely has a very female-driven fan base.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's women-centric very much. It's like women run the world. Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
There's so many scenes in this that I so relate to Florence in this, like the rationalization of people's actions, or just that sobbing quietly.
You mean Dani? You're saying her actress name. You're saying her actress name. But yes, Dani. Okay, yes.
That I can relate to Dani,
Florence.
too.
I'm like, who the fuck are you talking about? Florence and the Machine is in this? I don't know.
Also like her. But yeah, she's so relatable, and I connect to her on such a deep level. Like not to the extent of the grief that she feels at the beginning, but some of those scenes and some of those things that she said, I've done and been a part of those exact things. So I latched onto her quick.
Yeah, I can understand that completely. Like, this is another one of those films, something similar to, what was it? Not A Quiet Place, but the other one.
Bird Box,
where this is definitely like a woman-centric film. Like the guys in this film, like the four that go with her, Josh's character is fine. He's very, whatever with her and whatnot, but he's nice and stuff. But the other, like Christian and I think it's Mark is a fucking piece of shit.
Is Mark the guy that pissed on the tree? Yeah, he is.
On the ancestral tree.
Yeah.
They were talking about like how they basically are almost like the embodiment of toxic masculinity through the film.
Kind of, yeah. I was sad to see the guy who was like the scholar that was genuinely there. Like, yeah, I was sad to see him die. I understood why, because he was breaking rules.
Yep.
Yeah, but
he broke a big rule, like a big.
He did. Yeah, but I liked his character a lot. Like, he was really respectful to her the whole time. Like, he wasn't a dick to her at all. And like I said, I like the guy that's the fucking cult guy. I liked him a lot. He drew her a picture and he was really nice to her and he was informative to her and he treated her really well, like from the get-go. So, I mean, I don't know. The movie was interesting because it's very female forward. The pube hair thing was gross. When I was looking at the cups, I picked up on the menstrual blood in the drink thing, but I could see where that's something, because they don't talk about it. You wouldn't notice it, but I was like, his drink's a different color.
You see it in Tapestry. Like, that's the thing that they heavy hand the foreshadowing, but in subtle ways, which I mean is very counter to what I'm saying, but it's
you just have to pay attention.
Yeah, if you pay attention, it flat out tells you what the fucking movie is going to be from the get-go. It just shows you this is what's going to happen. This is the story that you're about to watch. But upon second viewing, third viewing, you pick those things up. Like when he's sitting there waiting to talk to like the elder lady or whatever, he's just like looking at this picture of a bear burning, and it's like, yeah, that's literally gonna fucking happen later and shit like that.
Yeah, I knew that something was going to happen with the bear. They foreshadowed a bunch of stuff with that. I just didn't know what. And then when they dressed him in that bear suit, I was like, that's fucking genius. And then like and then talking about like the Wizard of Oz thing, they were all fucking scarecrows. Like, legitimately, they're all stuffed. I was like, except for the two guys that obviously were actually burned. But yeah, everybody was stuffed. And I was like, that was really smart too. I don't understand the whole point of any of it other than it's just a religious cult belief. But like, it was cool in the sense that it followed their religion.
And early on,
offerings.
One of the guys asks P-Man what the kids are playing, and he says they're playing Skin the Fool, and Mark is later skinned and filled with straw and stuff, and they put a jester's hat on him, and that's why the jester's
I missed that. Okay.
So the game
I didn't catch that the first time time either.
Yeah.
So the game is literally one of those things that like passed down through generations, through stuff like it like the whole thing of like Ring Around the Rosie for us is like a whole thing about like, I believe it's about the plague is where it all stems from and everything. Yep. So it's very interesting. Those little things I do really like. My problems or the shortcomings with the film come from the artistic, like what I feel is like almost masturbatory of it. Like it just lingers and goes on for too long for what it's trying to do. And it does a good job. Like I'm not trying to shit on this film or anything. Like I will end up watching this again someday. Like I know that I will, but it's not going to be like tomorrow or anything like that.
Yeah, and then the other thing that I picked up on, and you guys will have to correct me, but like I didn't know this. So when we went to our horror con, and the guy that was dressed up as like all the fucking flowers, basically he was dressed up as her flower costume, right?
Yeah,
he was.
That was the May Queen.
Yeah, he was just in a ghillie suit.
He was just in a exactly. And I was like, I know that looked familiar. He did a really good job at the horror con looking like that. And so that I don't understand. I mean, other than the May Queen I get, but like literally sitting in a pile of like this flower suit was really fucking weird.
A lot of people suggest, like it wasn't Ari Aster that said this, but it's basically the further she goes and becomes engulfed by the family, the cult, the more the weight of it, the more flowers. So by the end of the film, she is literally like weighed down by this grouping. So the flowers and stuff that she's putting on, and they're putting more on her and more on her, they're more a
symbolization.
They're more that, like it's more just like kind of showing you like the bar is getting filled up.
Well, it's not that too. Like she's just getting deeper and deeper in this and getting more and more confused and more like adoration, which is really unsettling again.
Yeah, and by the end of the film, when we see the big yellow structure burn and everything, and she smiles, the smile is almost a perfect depiction of the sun painting that they see that's shining over the community. So she is basically now, part
of their community. Yeah, and I liked that because I was like, when we're going into this, it makes sense though. Like when they start out, she has nothing. She couldn't finish school because of all the shit that happened to her family. Everybody's dead in her family. She doesn't have a boyfriend anymore. She doesn't have anything.
She barely got a boyfriend. Christian loves her. He took her to Sweden.
And all of this is going on, and so like she doesn't have anything to go back to, and all of these people, all these women especially, are there to embrace her, to teach her their ways. Like they genuinely, it doesn't feel like they're trying to like manipulate her, to me at least.
No.
I think that they believe that they're just bringing another sister in that can be a part of their community that they just want to love and bring in, and she can be another breeder basically. And so and then the guys are disposable because all they need them for is their seed. Like
it's very ant colony in a way.
Yeah. Well, bee colony too. Like bees the same way. Like it's weird that in so many different ways that women rule the world, but in the actual human society. So it's right. Very strange. It's true though. Like in Animal Kingdom, it is in a lot of ways, and so it's always the men having to like. This is a completely off the beating path, but it's a perfect example when we go for our walks and we have this couple that are in our area that are ducks, and male ducks are gorgeous, and female ducks are just like plain ducks. Because the men have to show off for the ladies, and so they just waddle around. They're all over. This couple is just living in our neighborhood, and every time I see them, I just think about Mother Nature and how all the men are like beautiful, and all the women are just plain because they don't have to do anything besides just be themselves. So I love that. Sorry, guys, if this offends you, but I don't care. So anyway, that's what this feels like.
If you would like to be a host of Pod of the Dead, please contact me at podofthedead666.
None of this surprises you. I talk like this all the time. So yeah, we have a lot of daughters, and we have a woman-centric home too. So
it's just me and Wes. Me and Wes against the world.
Yeah, and the dogs too. Yeah, we have male dogs to round it out. Yes, they are. Don't talk shit. So anyway, but yeah, so it was a movie. It wasn't what I expected, other than the fact it was a cult movie, but it was too long to me. It was just, that was my biggest downfall for this whole movie. It was slow in some cases, but I didn't feel like it was too slow. There was just they could have cut not necessarily the movie itself down, but just this, like what Nick said, like the scenes that were just dragging for
correct.
So
artistic
are you
intentionality.
To like the first dinner scene, like just how that takes forever.
Just a lot of the stuff. It just kind of drags on. Like the May Queen dance and stuff. It's like we linger on that scene for so long, and it's like I understand like what it's supposed to be and everything that like it's, but it's not. I know that it's not a 20-minute scene, but it feels like it because it's like we're still in this. It doesn't feel like we're doing much more than like seeing the drug like take hold. And it's like when that's happening so much throughout the film, we don't need to linger on the scene to show a new drug taking hold for that amount of time. Yeah. So it's a lot of that kind of stuff where it's just like, okay, we're going to dance around this pole and the last one standing wins. But this scene's going to take like 10 minutes. We'll say 10 minutes. Yeah. It might be longer.
It might be longer.
Shorter. But it's just like, we're going to keep going. And it just, a lot of that kind of stuff. Yes, the first dinner scene, almost every dinner scene is because it's
building a sense of community though.
Well, yeah. And it keeps hammering this thing of like, there's a certain person that's allowed to pick up their silverware first and then everyone follows. And those things are so held out. Like it's just like, we're going to sit here for a minute until so-and-so does this. Yeah. Each time. So
and those were the minutes that I was talking about that go past the, okay, when are we getting somewhere, to the, okay, what's going to happen now?
Yeah.
Like, unsettled feeling.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that like, it happens so frequently and there's never like this like, oh shit moment at those scenes that it would make sense. Excuse me. It would make sense if like one time it happened, and I'm not one for jump scares or anything, but it'd be one thing if it were like, we're waiting and oh shit, something out of right field. That never happens in those scenes where it's not building tension to me as it's building. I understand what you're saying about the uncomfortableness and stuff, but it doesn't do that for me as much as it's I'm not saying that I'm bored in the film, but it's almost portraying the way Mark is feeling in those times where it's like, can we fucking do something else? Like, what the fuck's going on? Like, there's, all right, come on. Like, I'm going to go take a nap. Like, there's times where he's like that. Like, literally just like, I'm just going to fucking
He actually says that.
Yeah, it's just, and I feel that at times in this film because it's like, all right, cool. Like, we're doing this, we're doing that. So, like, I like the first... It's really weird. If we broke this movie into thirds, I like the first third and the last third, but that middle is like there's information to be gathered and stuff in it, but like as a narrative piece throughout it, it's kind of a slog for me in that bit.
I get that. It's funny that like usually you mention like it has like you like the vibe a movie gives. And this is a movie for me that I love the vibe that it gives, because if you think about that middle section where it is slow, I picture it as like how we've talked about a slice of life or a day in the life of something. Like we're watching all of this festival play out. We're not watching just the big bits. We're seeing the walk from point A to point B and looking for somebody and cooking.
But
and
I notoriously hate summer.
Loved that.
I notoriously just hate summer. So like we're just like living in fucking like 90-degree weather and sunlight all the time. No, in the movie.
Oh, like, no, you're not. They're in Sweden.
It doesn't matter. This film was shot like it was super hot the entire fucking time, and it looks hot there the whole fucking time.
Oh, I didn't gather that from me.
And I want to be there. Minus the murders. I want to
more murder, less sunshine.
I want to sit in the wind and just like watch nature and, you know, dance around. Like I want to be Florence Pugh's character minus the burning of people.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't really need Christian.
May Queen?
No, I actually thought like what Nick said, there are pieces of it, like the dinner thing, that does linger a little bit too much. But I actually thought the beginning, on their way there, like they're traveling and stuff. Although when she's like getting up, when he's saying, "I'm sorry about your family," and she runs to the bathroom, and then we actually get thrown into like the airplane. I was like, that is a perfect seg. I loved that. That was so fun.
Super
but like it really good, yeah. But then get the traveling in the car, and then getting to there and her and them all doing the shrooms, and then her running into the field, and then all of that could have been narrowed down by at least 5 minutes, and I think that would have been better.
Now, like the bad trip scene in that, I think they did that fucking great, where she's like losing her shit, and she's like, they're laughing at me, and it's like, no, I'm sure they're not. Why don't you come sit down? She's just like losing her shit, because I couldn't imagine fucking doing like a hallucinogen in a place that I already don't feel comfortable in. Like, 'cause she's already like, I just want to get my footing, and then the peer pressure sets in. It's like, no, I'm good. We'll just do it. You're already starting on the wrong foot to do something like that. So, like, and that's where I'm talking. Like, all of that, like, I agree. Like, you could have like trimmed some of the fat there at the beginning to like get us to where we need to be a little better. But I do like all of that stuff, getting all the footing and everything.
I like that too. I just don't like the length of it. I do really like, which actually reminded me of the Infinity Pool movie we watched, where they're going into that area and it's like doing all the weird, like, then we're going upside down, which I loved. That was like changing worlds essentially. I loved that. That was really cool. Definitely reminded me of Infinity Pool, because they do that and that a little bit too in a different version. But it was very successful in this, and I thought the movie overall was really successful in what it was trying to achieve. I just felt like it was too long.
And we watched the standard theatrical cut. There's a director's cut that is longer.
I would probably, but realistically, I would watch that just to see what is missing. Yeah. Like sometimes when you when we watch the extended versions of Lord of the Rings, it does add to it. But then if you watch like the extended versions of certain movies, it's kind of like, I'm glad they cut those parts. So it just depends on the movie.
It would be interesting, because all of my bashing of this film, like it's specifically just like, if I were to make this film, which clearly I'm not, right? Yeah. But it's like, if this movie was tailor-made for me, like, these are the things that I would bring to the table. Like, if I were given the entirety of this film right here, and it's like, Nick, what could you do to make this film better in your eyes? That's what I would do. And I could be vastly wrong. And there are people that are going to crucify me for, like, how dare you? This is a masterpiece. This is amazing, and all this stuff, which is, you're allowed to have that opinion. My big thing is, I think that this film is held to a certain degree because of what came out, like, at the time that it was coming out and stuff. Okay. I forgot to mention it at the beginning and stuff, but we'll just touch, like, the horror films that were coming out when this came out was like, we got the Child's Play remake, which sucked. It Chapter 2, Annabelle Comes Home, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. So there wasn't a lot of, like, really, like, there was like box office successful ones, but not like imaginative or fresh spins or anything. Yeah. So when Midsommar comes out and it's a folk horror film, which there's not a lot of, especially at that time, it's always sunny, it's flowery and stuff. It is different, and it is. With it being so women centric and stuff through the film, it's like, I can 100% understand why people really like it, but I think it's held higher than it should be. And this is just my opinion, because of how shitty its competition was.
Okay.
I didn't see it when it came out.
No, I get that. I'm not talking about.
So I'm saying, okay, I guess that's like, and then there's the streaming services where it's becoming even more popular. But like, I had the entirety of streaming services for it to come up against, and I watched it. Well, yeah,
absolutely. And like I said, not saying that it's a bad movie. I'm just saying that, like, it's a lot of people, like, it's weird. This movie gets like, oh my God, Midsommar, even more than Hereditary, which I feel Hereditary is a far superior film. Like, as a film.
Okay.
Like, that's my
I think this one's more accessible than Hereditary.
Really?
I I would offer this one before I would Hereditary.
Even with its runtime. See, that's what I'm getting at. Is like,
yes, I think so.
If these had the exact same runtime, like, and I understand that Hereditary is a heavier film.
Yeah, exactly.
But way heavier film. My God.
But my thing is, and obviously, Ari Aster is not trying to make the same film twice. I 100% get that. And these are tonally completely different films.
Very.
You could literally look at Hereditary as a nighttime film because a lot of that film happens in the dark, and this is just a daytime film. Like literally, like you could almost look at it that way. But like, I feel this is just my take. And I know, like, you girls can tell me I'm wrong in just 1 second. I know you will. But I just think that, like, Hereditary was a more focused shot that hit the bullseye, where this one felt like he was given the reins and was just like, well, I just want to do all this stuff, and it didn't hit the mark properly. Like I said, like it feels bloated. That's my big thing with it. I
feel like Tasha's right in the sense that this movie is meant to be a slice of life film where you're just getting immersive into the story, into their life. And I don't think the Hereditary's point was that. So their intentions are completely different. And I also think that this is a lot more on the nose, and Hereditary is a lot more, it has a different element. I don't want to say anything because if people haven't seen it, I don't want to tell people on here like what it was, but it's just a different style of movie that is an interpretation to a degree,
which is very impressive considering they are both from the same guy. Like that, like that cannot be, like, we cannot like stress that enough, that these two films are both art house horror films, but so tonally different, even though they deal with grief, like super different.
And I think it's interesting that you say that Hereditary is more focused, because I think Hereditary has more concepts that you can delve into.
Yeah, I think it's
where it
deeper.
Can go in a different. It can go, but you can have almost two different perspectives to the same movie.
Correct.
Where Midsommar is purely about the Midsummer Festival.
True.
Yeah, true.
Which is super focused.
I'm just saying focused in its execution, not its narrative.
Gotcha.
Like, it's like I was saying, like, oh, I'm gonna like.
He thinks it's tighter of a film, probably.
Correct.
It's like
Yes.
it's beat for beat, very like we are here, and like it's a lot more smooth in terms of.
Where this one is longer drawn out.
Yeah.
I would say Hereditary is like a consistent just visual format. It's consistently going, like the speed keeps going and going and going and going, and then we hit this and it's over. Where Midsommar is like a roller coaster. It goes up and down, up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
And the peaks are very sharp and the valleys are long, is like my thing with it. So like when and we just hold and then come up. And for me, I'm not going to keep harping. That's my thing.
Which is strange for me with you, because you tend to like movies that are slower a lot of times, because the vibe works for you. I think that maybe the vibe doesn't work for you 100%. Because this is a woman-centric film.
I don't think.
Do you think that that's a factor into it, because it's not relatable, or it's not as much as like gloopy as what you would want? Because obviously that's what you like.
I don't think it's so much that. I think it kind of goes back to what we were talking about with like the summer and all that kind of stuff. Is like it's not a vibe that I want. Like the idea of springtime, flowery, like all of that stuff is like, if that's something that you're into, as Tasha's pointing to herself, like, you can just bask yourself in it and stuff. Me, I want it to be like grimy and rainy and all that stuff in those films.
It's too bright.
And like as fucking mopey goth boy that sounds, hey, I wore eyeliner in high school. That is true though. Like it's just one of those things that like, and I get it. It works as a juxtaposition. It's like everything's sunshiny and everything, and now we're gonna bash heads on rocks.
Yeah.
But like, if it were a tighter film, I think it would just work better for me. But it's we're gonna slow down and just wade in the flowers. I'm just like, I don't.
Yeah, but I can see where it's like it is like that. It's like it's a heavy film, but yet the people that in it
that are in it are not heavy people. They're not there to be bad villains. They're not there to hurt anybody intentionally. They're not there to like impose on situations. Like they don't come across as the villains. And that's what's fucking crazy about it, because they're murdering all these people, but it makes sense for their cult or whatever to fit into their storyline. So in Hereditary, obviously, like, because we're playing that back and forth, there is a very definitive like bad guy, why it's a bad guy, and there is a villain. It is very heavy and dark. This one, it makes it crazy because it's like, oh, we're just these happy people who live on this commune and we do all these things, and we just happen to have this ceremony that requires, because, which the incest thing was weird, but we're just gonna have to kill X amount of people because that's just what our book says so.
I mean, but like, that's what religion is. That's what cults are.
Yeah.
The only thing differentiating a religion and a cult is tax exempt status. Like it's all like, here's a book of smeared paint. Like,
literally.
That's what it says.
Yeah, that was weird. So I can see why like Tasha likes it, because it makes sense in that, that format. And
Tasha's a slut for cults. Like,
yeah, exactly. It's very true.
As you're wearing your I survived, what does it say?
I survived Midsummer Fest 2019.
Yeah, you survived. That's funny. So
with her in all of her glory as the May Queen crying.
Yeah.
I love this shirt.
So who is your guys' favorite characters? I'm pretty sure it's probably similar all around, but I figured we'll kind of talk about it.
Go ahead and start, because I'm going to have to think about it.
I think we already know Tasha's, but go ahead, Tasha.
I like Dani.
Yeah, I figured as much.
I assume so.
And I like the woman that attaches herself to Dani, that like her friend that's showing her everything.
Yeah.
Like, drink the stuff. Come, stand here. Oh, this is what we're doing in the kitchen. I really liked her too.
Yeah, she was nice. What did you think?
How about you, Steph? I'm having a hard time.
I don't either. Like I would look at they all played their part intentionally. So like I think that they were all
Josh? I think Josh might be my favorite character. He's the most relatable for me because he is just actually interested in this stuff and is trying to figure it out. And because like Mark is an absolute douchebag and deserves his face cut off. He is a person that anytime he's in a movie, I instantly hate him because he's got a face that makes me want to slap him. And then Christian's just a douchebag gaslighter, like kind of dude bro-y. Dani is like, she's definitely our proxy in a way. Like we're
for sure.
And it's one of those things. It's not a gender thing of me like not being able to understand or connect, because realistically, I don't think that there's anything that she goes through in this film that is specifically gender centric. Anybody could be Dani in this film, so I don't think there's anything specifically feminine about what she goes through. So it's not that. So like I think the only character that I relate to, therefore making a connection with and making me like him, is probably Josh.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with Tasha in this, just because it's the woman thing. Like we do follow her through, and we do have that connection with her. And I think it's just because that's what we're following. So like you get that chance to kind of build a relationship with her. But I would say that I agree with you on the guy. That would be my choice of guy, other than the other one, because he's not my favorite because we don't get him enough. But like I am
P-Man.
Yeah, I'm rooting for them. So that's all.
Those crazy kids, they can go off and start a happy family, burn a couple of people, throw them off a bridge, whatever.
Yeah. So the one thing I was wondering, so this happens, so did we, I'm thinking aloud here. Was there 9 people that we got rid of?
Yes.
9 people we burned. So it happens every 90 years. So is it just say that we're getting rid of one person for every 10 years and that's what they're doing until the next one? Is that what we're to assume?
I think so.
Okay. Because they didn't really delve into a whole lot of like their lore in this as much. I mean, you could pay attention to it on the art, but like there was no expositional dumps really in this. Like it wasn't, you don't get handed anything. So if you don't like movies where you have to actually fucking pay attention and look at things, you probably will be lost. And Tasha wasn't lost. So that's
you
good.
do get it handed to you. You just have to know when to pay attention.
Yes.
Because I will say, the first time I watched this movie, I was confused as fuck because I wasn't paying close enough attention.
Yeah.
But I still loved it.
Okay.
So watching it, because the first time I watched it, it was slow, slow, slow. What the hell's happening?
Okay.
The second time watching it, I picked up on all of the cues, making it a much more enjoyable watch.
Okay.
I actually liked it better the second time because you pick up on some things that the people are saying. You really focus in on all of the tapestries and all of the art across everything the second time around. So it's all handed to you.
Yeah, I want to watch this again. Yeah, I'm going to watch this again sometime so I can pick up a little bit more on that because I was trying to do all of that at once. And once you've already seen some of it, you can remember. But the other question I had, because I kind of assumed this was going to happen, and I'm assuming it didn't because I didn't pick up on any of it, but do they eat human?
No,
or are they cannibal?
I don't think so.
I feel like it's kind of alluded to. At least that's how it makes it feel.
That's how it felt to me too.
When Connie dies and then they cut to making the meat pies, there's something about those meat pies that make me think there's bodies in it.
That's the same thing for me. That's how I felt because I was like, oh my God, are we eating human now? Like I didn't know. And like they don't show anything about hunting gathering other than the crops. So we don't talk about meat other than the bear, but we don't see that till the end and they weren't carving it until the end. So therefore all the meat leading up to that wouldn't have been from the bear.
All the meat that you see on the tables and stuff though, it's always rotting. That's something that like it's never like fresh or cooked or anything. It's always rotting. That's on the tables and stuff like that.
And I feel like in one of those scenes, I think it's when she's the May Queen already, and you see the rotting feet, but you also have like the weird trippy vibe going on. I feel like that's people on the table.
Okay, that's very
what
well
I'm wondering.
I never picked up on that. Like Steph asked that, like she's like, "Are they cannibals or something?" I was like, if so, they're definitely burying the lead on that like really well. I don't think so, but I don't know.
I don't. Well, the other thing that made me believe that is because the bodies that we get, other than the flayed guy, they don't have any. There's nothing in them.
It's just the skin.
It's just the skin. Like they're stuffed.
True.
So like I was assuming that was part of their like Midsummer festival. They're eating people, and because they don't, we do know because they do confirm it and they show us visually. We don't eat the old people that fall because they actually cremate them and then dump them on a dead tree that the guy pisses on. So like we know that wasn't the case because I was wondering if we were going to do that. But then with everybody else dying and that woman we're not seeing where that woman went and all this other stuff. I am like Tasha. I was like, I think they're making meat pies. They're playing a Sweeney Todd on us. You know what I mean? And so that's what it felt like to me. So I have no idea. Maybe when I watch it again, it'll show us. Maybe it shows you on some of the images and we just didn't pick up on it. I don't know. I'm curious. So, but I would venture to say they probably are.
Goddamn Swedes eating them peeps.
Yeah, and everything online says that it's hinted to it, so we're not the only ones.
Okay, I'm glad I'm not an idiot then, because I was like, maybe I'm just stupid over here thinking we're eating human and we're not. So, okay,
it's just alluded to, like how we're in the majority. It sounds like.
Okay. At least we got that covered. So,
all right. Anything else you girls want to talk about, or do you want to get into review territory?
I'm down with reviews if you guys are.
So we know that Tasha's a liar because she doesn't like gory films, but then she's brought this to the table.
Okay. Well, Tasha's the one that brought this, so you got to tell us what your score is first.
I get to go first?
Yep,
yeah.
Give us your review.
I loved the scoring to it. I loved the camera angles. I loved the colors. I loved the scenery. I love Florence Pugh. Honestly, I loved the length of it because it didn't feel like 2.5 hours.
Okay.
I hated Mark so much and was so glad he had the jester hat on at the end. I loved how Christian was portrayed as the bear and got burned at the end because he was a dick to her. I loved the juxtaposition of how absolutely beautiful this movie is paired with the grotesque gore that was throughout. I love everything about this movie, guys.
Okay, what high praise rating are we giving it? I am waiting too.
Man, is
this your favorite A24 film that you've seen to date?
Yes.
Is
And this was also one of my first A24 films also. This was my first interaction with a folk horror movie. And I believe this is my first A24 movie. Also my first Florence Pugh movie, which then led me to Don't Worry, Darling. Also love it.
Is it your favorite horror film? You got to think about that with your scoring.
Tough. Ari Aster is definitely way up there for favorite director.
Do it.
My favorite horror movie. There might be a little recency bias.
That's fine. It's fine.
I will watch this over and over and over again. I think I'm going to give it a 10.
Oh, holy shit! Hell yeah! Nice.
I was originally going to give it a 9, but I have no reason.
You're pulling a Nick.
To give it a 9.
Hey, no, it's 100%.
It's fair.
That's why I asked you. I was like, "Is it your favorite horror film?" It's like right now, today. You know what? Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And I've watched 3 horror movies since watching Midsommar, and I would watch this again before any of those.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. All right.
It's so good.
Go for it, honey.
All right. Not gonna hit those heights by any means today. But yeah.
Wheel the brakes.
If we cut 30 minutes out of this film, I would have given it a whole extra point, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
It is just that lawing down kind of bit or whatever. I think the acting though is really good. Mark is super annoying in this movie. So fucking annoying. And I wish we could have seen him get murdered. Like that. Really? Like we're gonna.
You don't even get a ton of him in it, but the pieces he's in is
so fucking annoying, and we don't get to see him. Like we get to see the aftermath. We didn't even know he was dead, and then we see his face. So
we assume so.
And this is my take on it, right? Like I just want more gloop.
Yeah, that's true.
Show his head get bashed in all the time. I don't know. But yeah, no, I do like Ari Aster's films. He's I'm definitely interested in seeing his upcoming film. I had no interest in seeing Beau is Afraid because it's like 3 hours.
Okay.
So if his films just keep getting longer and longer, he's going to become a Martin Scorsese to me, where it's just like, yeah, no, he's really good. I have no interest in watching your movies though, because I don't want to sit there forever.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that being said, the casting's really good. Yeah, Florence Pugh, Will Poulter, like all of them did a really good job. They did their spots. The shots are really cool. It's not my vibe. I'm not a summertime gal. Just waiting to be the May Queen and all that. I did like though that it is definitely a theme that's not used that frequently. With all that being said, like I said, the length is what kind of drags it down for me. I'm giving it a 6.75. I didn't feel super comfortable giving it a 7. I will watch it again. I'm not 100% sure if I will watch it again because I'm putting it on.
Okay.
Ask me again next year. My tastes change from time to time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm feeling comfortable with 6.75 because I don't know if I'd give it a 7 personally. I already said it. 6.75.
Okay. Yeah, I'm struggling with this because I gave Hereditary a 7.5, even though it completely gutted me. And I don't know if I'll ever watch that movie again. Maybe in 5 years or something where I can actually emotionally contain it. This movie, I think I would rewatch it again in a way shorter span of time. I do think Maya would actually like this movie. Because it's. I just do. I don't know what to tell me that she would probably like it. Yeah. I mean, she wears dresses like these women do.
Like that cottagecore vibe.
Yeah.
Well, she also was walking through the living room getting ready to go to her dad's house for the weekend when we were watching it, and we paused it, and Florence was on the screen, and she looked and she's like, "Oh, I like her," and then went on. So
yeah, it has a Maya vibe to it. So yeah, I think she would. But Kylie would probably be like Nick and be like, "It's not dark. It's fucking sunny. It's fuck the summer." All that stuff. So she wouldn't probably like it. But yeah, I'm struggling with it because I would rewatch it. I agree with Nick. Again, we've already said this 500,000 times about the length, but it was unique. I am all down for like unique stuff that's entertaining and that I really like. And so I'm going to go with the 7. I did give Hereditary 7.5. I probably, if I watch it again and I like it the same or more, it'll probably raise its ratings. But it's just because of the length, really. If it was shorter or it felt a little tighter, I probably would have given it an 8, honestly. So I'm going to go with the 7.
You're in that same boat that the time gives it an extra whole point.
It does, and it's just.
But Tasha also has said, I don't know if on the podcast, but previously, that Oppenheimer is a cozy time watch for her, and that movie's like almost 3 hours long. Yeah. So that is something definitely that is in your wheelhouse. You like long. You like to just kind of sit in the film for a long time.
I do too, though. But I do that with fantasy films, and like I need the action behind it. I think more, and I can't just do the slow. But that's how I felt about a lot of the movies we've watched. Like, I would say I appreciate this movie a lot more than a lot of the slow 70s films that we've watched. It's just pacing for me a little bit. So, but I'm going to rewatch it, and maybe, who knows, it'll be one of those things that linger with me, and I'll be like, man, I really like this movie. Like, maybe it's just one of those things that bears repeating. So, I'm gonna say a 7 is pretty solid for me, which is high for me because lately it just hasn't been the numbers. So, okay.
All right, Tasha, what's that give us?
That gives us a 79.
Wow.
Damn, way up there.
That's way up there.
So we've had a couple, I think that's back-to-back Hall of Famers now. Or somewhere in there.
I
We've
think
had
so.
a couple this month.
You both really liked Green Room, so yeah. And then was that the last one we watched?
Yeah, we did Green Room. Before that was Talk to Me, and then before that was The Black Coat's Daughter, which I was the only person that really liked that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, talk about slow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah,
this is the type of psychological tension that I like.
Yeah. Well, and it's really funny. Like, I was thinking about this when you were talking about how picturesque and everything this film is at times. It like holds on these shots that are like paintings and pictures, and that's what I was talking about also in The Black Coat's Daughter, where it's always just those shots, but they're like taken at the wrong angles and stuff and out of frame and stuff, and that's my vibe. So
they did that a lot in Infinity Pool too.
Yes,
like where it was like off weird filming. You know, surprisingly enough, as much as I didn't like top-notch love the movies, 2 movies I keep thinking about regularly, and I don't know why, is that, and I know I've said this before, is that fucking House movie we watched. I don't know why. I need to rewatch it just to see the Night House. Yeah, I don't know why that movie fucking sticks with me. And the fucking Infinity Pool, and I didn't even love that movie. Maybe it's because it's Alexander Skarsgård, but like I find myself every so often, and maybe it's because it's Mia Goth too, because I fucking love her, but like I keep pulling back to those movies, and I didn't even love them movies, but it was just some of those things that like linger with you. And it's obviously Hereditary did, because that movie wrecked the shit out of me. It was, but that was why that's connected. So I'm wondering if this movie will do the same thing, because like I never thought that would ever happen with those other movies, and it just has. So it's interesting.
Like there are definitely certain scenes that have stuck with me, and I think that's a lot to do with the way it's shot evokes an emotion, then that sticks in your brain. So you have the picture paired with the emotion, so it's activating a bunch of parts of your brain. That's the only thing I can think, because there are parts of those movies that I can't remember to save my life.
Yeah, exactly.
But there are some that are, like Nick said, that are skewed or shot in a certain way that it's just like a picture in my mind.
Yeah, that's how The Black Coat's Daughter was with me. Like, that's why I scored it the way that I did when we covered it, was because it literally sat with me the whole week. Like, not like, oh, it scared me. It was just the vibe of the film. Like,
it's heavy.
It's just this weird like thing. I just wanted to roll around in it, and this is the same for Tasha. She wants to roll around in Midsommar.
The flowers.
I know, it's beautiful. So I mean, I get it. That's true. I think I'm gonna make Maya watch it. I'm telling you.
There you go. That's just your excuse to watch it again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I had Noelle watch Talk to Me the other day, because I was like, I think this is a movie that you and your boyfriend should watch. So she watched it. I didn't want to rewatch it because that movie was okay. What did she think of it? She was like, what the hell did we just watch? And Sebastian, her boyfriend, was like, that was scary. And then they didn't get the ending. Obviously, we can't talk about it right here because we don't want to give spoilers. But she's like, I don't get the ending of that. And I was like, And so I explained it to her a little bit. She's like, oh, that makes a lot more sense. She goes, I saw like the very end, that's what was going to happen. But then Sebastian picked up on a lot of the things that Noelle didn't pick up on, and then vice versa. So we were kind of talking about it. And it's definitely, like we had on the podcast, it is a heavy talking film, because you have to bring whatever your interpretation is with that film, which I think is a lot of A24 in general, but that movie especially. So yeah, it was cool. So she seemed to like it. She was just like, that was really fucked up. And I was like, yeah, it's really fucked up. So guys, if you want to listen to talk to me and learn more about that movie, we have it's on our podcast. Go check it out. And yeah, it was, we talk a lot about the movie in there. So.
So
it's
we talk about it. I know. I know that was redundant. So sorry, Tasha.
No, it just cracked me up.
So girls, I'm sorry to tell you that this is the end of May 24 for us.
I know, it's so fucking sad.
So
we ended on a good note.
We did. That's true.
No more A24 films for a little bit.
For a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
At all.
Yeah.
So, do you girls have anything before we give out homework? Do you girls have anything you would like to champion?
I have a couple things, but somebody else can go first.
Okay.
Sorry.
I watched a documentary this morning. It's called The Antisocial Network.
I've heard of it.
And
I have heard of it too.
So I had a feeling it was about 4chan, which it is. But then it starts off talking about 4chan, and then how that website morphed into the creation of Anonymous, that then disbanded and morphed into 8chan and QAnon, and the election, and all of this. It was terrifying and very insightful. It's on Netflix, I believe.
Okay.
But I had no idea that how they paired everything together. I didn't realize. It seems like such a straight line, and it all makes sense to me. So I'm really interested to delve in more to that.
It's kind of scary.
But it's very scary to see how the internet and how social media can create these. I already knew that you could create an echo chamber, but how intentional it is, and how it can start out as a joke and then balloon into a terrorist attack.
I was on those 4chan boards 10 plus years ago. Like
trolling and just being stupid.
I was a lurker. Lurk, never post. I would just read and watch and all that stuff. But yeah, it was always really funny back then. Like way back in the old West. You know, like 4chan was this fucking forum, or not forum. It's like Reddit with zero fucking police. It's super fucking there are certain boards you just don't go on to. Legit. It was not for the quote unquote faint of heart. Let's just put it that way. Or if you have any scruples, there's just some shit on there you just don't go with. Anyway. But yeah, I remember that. And then then you watch it. I went through a little phase of checking it out, go away. And then later on, you just see it keep going. And then when you start seeing this QAnon stuff, I'm here going, oh, people are buying it. That shit that a bunch of it wasn't me posting by any means. That's not what I'm saying. But a bunch of people like me or whatever. Yeah. Trolling, fucking around, coming up with crazy bullshit and everything.
Just being dumb.
Yeah. And then other people just being just piecing it together and making something worse. And now we've got Pizzagate and all this shit. It's insane.
Exactly.
So
now the one that sticks out to me, because Drew laughs at me, anything with CP was linked to eating babies. So it was anything with cheese pizza or anything like that. It's just absurd that now people Trumpers essentially are seeing these stupid memes that were made 20 years ago and going, oh, it's a conspiracy. This is something to listen to. It's a scary documentary.
The idea of memes and stuff, that all comes from 4chan. That is, those are the boards that all of that bred from. Reddit is like I said, it's the
product of.
Yeah, it's hey, a lot of people like doing this stuff, but we can't let them do what they're doing. So we're gonna do a Facebook version of it.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So it's called The Antisocial Network if you want to watch something that's very relevant right now.
Okay. Yeah, that stuff scares me. I that and true crime and all that stuff, man, that fucks your head up sometimes. So don't know.
We got.
Is that all you have, Tasha, for this week?
Yeah, just the
Okay. I've got two things. So
Any tentacle porn?
No, I really didn't read that much.
All right, I guess we're ending the podcast then.
Shut the fuck up. I am intentionally probably going to be in the next couple of weeks just trying to find something with tentacles just to feed you for your tentacle porn need. But no, I watched Bridgerton. If you guys are listening to this, the first four episodes came out. If you are into the Bridgerton world and you're listening to this, you know my anger shaking your fist at the world because they only brought out 4 of the 8 episodes. And I binged all of them in one day. And it was good. I liked it. I love Bridgerton. It's great. So if you know, you know. So yeah, that I definitely... that's great. You should watch it. It's so good. If you like romance and you like intrigue and the whole coming out into society and having to find your partner and all of the issues that come along with that, it's definitely interesting. So, and there's a lot of other dynamics to it too. So I liked it a lot. And then Nick and I was it Iron Claw? Is that what it's called?
Yep, the Iron Claw.
Yeah. So with it's an A24 film, right?
Yep.
Okay, so another A24 film, and it's got Zac Efron in it, and it is about based on true story about a wrestling family, and holy fucking shit. Like, he went and saw it in the theater. He's like, we were debating if we were going to watch something. He's like, well, you said you wanted to see this. And I was like, oh yeah, let's put it on. I did not expect that. And it, very emotional in a lot of ways. So fucking tragic. And really good. Well, I mean, it's an A24 film. I always say that. Most of them are really good made. So this was too. And Zac Efron, holy shit, this guy.
Doped out of his mind.
Oh my God. I can't imagine like the small percent of body fat that he had to have in this movie and how much he had to work out. Like that in itself, when actors have to put themselves through fucking hell just to maintain for a character, I have so much respect for that. And like he does that so well. And then all the acting in this was phenomenal. I like wrestling. Nick's like obsessed with wrestling, and he goes through bouts of it. Like he gets into it, and then he kind of steps away for it. Yeah, and then he's back into it, and then he's telling me all the stories and stuff, or laying in bed next to me watching videos of it, literally all the time. And so
all the time. Well, maybe.
Lately. And so I like wrestling too. I grew up watching it, but I'm not as immersed in that as I was. And so yeah, that movie. Yeah, so if you like wrestling and you like really sad stories, realistically, based on true story, it was good.
It's based on the Von Erich family. So
yeah. It was.
When I saw this in theaters,
tragic.
I was going to do a double feature with Godzilla -1. And this film ended, and I was so emotionally compromised that I did not do my double feature. I just went home because I was so sad.
Oh, man.
And then rewatched it with Steph this past week, and it didn't affect me as much, but I still welled up a couple times. There are 2 scenes in this film that will probably always make me cry, and they're like in the last like 15 minutes of the film each time. So. Yeah.
I definitely well up at one of them by the tree. That one. Gets me.
Yeah, it was really sad.
So, did you ever watch The Dark Side of the Ring, Nick?
Oh yeah, I've watched all of it. I'm slowly working through the newest season. So
I've watched part of that. Yeah, that's rough in itself too, especially some of them. My gosh. Whew. So yeah, those are the 2 things that I'm going to say for this week because I don't have
mine was basically just the Iron Claw because this week has been a crazy week. Nothing new on my end. Sorry everybody if you were looking for some music or something. I got nothing for you. I didn't really listen to much new stuff.
You didn't do podcast stuff, like listen to a podcast that you could talk about on here?
Oh, I'm not gonna tell anybody to listen to any other podcast because they should only listen to this podcast.
Oh my gosh, you're so full of crap.
No, I'm true.
You're not.
If you're into wrestling and you want something that's dope, definitely check out the Deadlock wrestling podcasts. They do like retro reviews of old wrestling promotional shows and stuff, and they are fucking hilarious. It is so goddamn funny that I will be laughing my ass off to the point where I'm lightheaded daily at work. So
wow.
yeah, so give them a shot. They run their own wrestling promotion now. Like from the start, it was just like some YouTube guys that got together and did a podcast together, and now they literally have a wrestling promotion that they do shows around the country. So it's really cool. They've been around for a handful of years. So I actually just recently started way back, and I've been working my way back up to current, and I've got years to catch up. But there, I'll give you that.
So what did you say they're doing? They're just like commentary over old.
They basically what they'll do is they'll like be like on today's episode we watched for the podcast Raw, like WWE Raw from 1998. And then they go segment by segment and just fucking talk about it. And like they talk about like how good the matches were, but then they're also like how fucking ridiculous this is and how fucking stupid this is and all this stuff. And it's a longer, like each episode's like 2+ hours. Some of them can get like 3. I think I've even seen ones that are like 4, because there are certain episodes where it's like, we covered this episode of Raw from the past, but then there was this pay-per-view that came on this weekend that we're covering that. And it's always just a rotating thing, but like the 3 guys are so fucking funny, and their community is something that one day I aspire to have. Yes, for our podcast.
I get to hear about this
because they do their they read off their Patreon people like that, and their grouping of people, like the names that they've made up. Are all just like inside jokes from the podcast and stuff.
That's cool.
It's so fucking funny. Like there's so many people that are like in their Patreon called Dick the Cock Johnson, and then something else. It kills me every fucking time. So anyway, yeah, Deadlock. Yeah, check it out. But cool. All right, homework time. So next week will be the first week of June, right? So we're out of A24. But I figured I would give you guys some methadone to get you off of your A24 heroin.
Scale it.
Yeah, so we'll slowly get off of that, and we're gonna watch Jordan Peele's Get Out.
Okay.
Which I don't believe is A24.
No, I don't think so. No.
Yeah, no. So, and if it is, I'm sorry. Whatever. I guess you guys get an extra little bump. But yeah, we're gonna be watching Get Out by Jordan Peele.
I've never seen this either. I have not watched a lot of these movies. This is all a lot of new shit for me lately. So
yeah, we've been getting some people liking the newer stuff, so we're kind of leaning into that a little bit more. That doesn't mean that we're not going to cover some older stuff from the 80s and 90s from here and there and stuff. But like people have been liking the newer stuff, so I'm going to keep it kind of going, because I think that came out in like 2015, 16, somewhere in there.
Okay.
So yeah, but yeah, Jordan Peele's Get Out.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yep. So for Pod of the Dead, I am Nicholas.
I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Natasha.
Come back and listen to us, or else.